Okay, hello. It is Wednesday, my dudes, September 11th, 2000, the year of our Lord 2024. Do they count the years from when he died or from when he was born? Was Jesus 33 in the year 33? Or did we start when he died? Did you hear that the Catholic Church added 300 years to the calendar? They said that in that 300 years, um, the archaeological record shows no advancement in the world in architecture, which would be equivalent to us today living in straw huts. 300 years. The more you know. What do I have to talk about? I was talking to someone today. Um, I've been listening to a lot of I don't know why these I mean I probably do know why my YouTube recommendations are all like tarot people now, because these are the people talking about the things I believe in. Um, Specifically, me being a chosen one by God and an angel, and I'm meant to change everything. You know, I'm being facetious, or am I? Um, but this lady was saying that God loves people that tell the truth, and people hate people who tell the truth. And I kind of touched on that the last thing I recorded. And there's been so many times where like, I've even said this and recorded it, and then I don't post because what follows is me talking about specific people that came and went out of my life that taught me a specific lesson and that, you know, they did not nice things to me. Um, and I think it's an important part of my spiritual journey is the lessons that I got and the people that I hired to teach them to me in this simulation. But it's also important not to assassinate someone's character. So rather than go super close to home, because I'm telling you, I've recorded a dozen of these. At the beginning, when I first started journaling, I was naming names, and then in the process of talking, forgiving them as I was going, but I hadn't forgive them yet fully. Like now, imagine protecting your abuser. What level of spirituality is that, right? So like I'm confident the people that abuse me don't feel like they did anything wrong. I'm confident they feel like they got away with it. I'm confident that they are making the same mistakes in their lives, still being unconscious, still being what I perceive them as. Also, I way prefer having a beard now. I feel like if I'm supposed to have one, should I like grow it? Grow it? After this length, it starts to bother me, so I have to trim it tomorrow. That's what I was thinking about. It's something that both Persian men and women have to worry about, and Armenians. Um, what was I talking about? Authenticity, and then those people. So I'm gonna name some names, not in my life particularly, at least not yet. But I want to talk about how I'll eventually get to my specific lessons and what I learned and who those people were to me and all that. But after I started to see that there has to be something. So growing up, I had a natural, innate belief in God. And it wasn't because it was instilled in me by my mom, because that, like, I don't fucking speak or understand Arabic. When she would do her namaz, I would just be quiet. I'd watch and I'd listen, and she's like whispering, and I didn't want to stand in between her and God. I thought I would interrupt the reception, and I didn't want to bother her because it looked like she was in the zone. But it didn't make sense to me. Like, I have to pray in that language in this specific way. Why can't I just talk to God like this? Which is true. So, I mean, there's fucking. You mean? God knows even things that I don't have to say out loud. Why do I have to pray in fucking Arabic of all things? Um, I was going to make a social commentary, but I will avoid that for now. Um, but I had the feeling like God is watching me or with me all the time, and I acted, I suppose, in a way where that was true. And eventually, I think as I grew up, I lost it, or I saw someone get frustrated and like flick off the sky, flick off God. I was like, and then later on, maybe not even a year later, when I got frustrated, I did it. Like, you just kind of adopt the thoughts and behaviors of the people around you. So everyone around me either was an atheist or worse, worse. And you kind of go through life when you have the victim mentality, especially. You're like, there can't, or God is unfair to me. So you have disbelief out of spite. So a lot of the vocal atheists I know is like they're upset at God for making them fat, or making them their family break up, or making them like making the just making examples. Sorry, didn't mean to. And I suppose that's natural and it's supposed to happen. And then the religious community says, "Oh, if you say that and whatever, you go to hell forever." Like, there's just you know you go to hell forever if you say or think that. But I'm going to heaven because I've never done anything wrong. So you're asking other people how to get to where they're not at. Like, how do you get directions to a place from somebody who's never been there? Everybody shut the fuck up. Let me figure it out. So that's, I mean, what my life has been, is let me figure it out. Everybody shut the fuck up. The loudest people know the least. If you're wearing a certain hat or a certain whatever, fucking, you're the farthest away from finding God. You know what I mean? If you collect money on behalf of God, you're fucking going to hell. You work for the other guy for sure. That's what I want to talk about. So, in a conversation I had today, it wasn't a phrase came up, and I can't remember the phrase, but it was like, talk the talk isn't enough. You have to live it. So that's the greatest litmus test to if someone is in flow, if they are actually believing what they say, they would live like it, right? Behind closed doors, they would not be a different person. And I'll see oftentimes vocally religious people. Oh, there's a bug in my hair. Vocally religious people present themselves in a certain way, want to be seen a certain way, but then when they think nobody's looking, I'm fucking looking, and I see the cracks in the armor, and I see the. You have a feeling, anyways. You know, I know, but I. I started looking for truth, right? So I'm completely ashamed that there was ever a cross around my neck, but I needed to find out what the truth was. You know what I mean? Like, I needed, I needed to do it myself. I needed to see how the world felt and looked when I joined the team, and see, like, from the inside. And if someone showed me a picture, the younger me, a picture of me wearing a cross, I'm like, wow, Photoshop is good these days. I would not have believed it. And the thing is, I found obviously some truth in, there's some truth in every religion. And when you're seeking, I guess, knowledge, that's the most sold book in history. The rights are owned by the royal family, by the way. That's an interesting connection. Um, so when I started to try to learn about God, you go to the people that are speaking loudest. So the thing is, I learned a lot of things that I use still today, that are in the Bible. They didn't originate in the Bible, but they are in there. And on that subject, is like the best way to hide a lie is amongst truth. So I believe wholeheartedly, if you follow the Bible exactly, you are a devil worshiper. Can I explain why before you freak out? Is because of the Council of Nicaea. The enemy of the Christian movement, the people that were following the actual Yeshua while he was walking on earth, the people that followed and taught and relayed his stories, the enemy was the Holy Roman Empire that wasn't holy yet, the pagans who were following pagan traditions from the ancient Greeks. And Emperor Constantine did the same thing you see happen now, where he took the movement and he changed it into something else. So that's why they inserted all this pagan bullshit in Christianity. If you like listen to the words, is I'm a jealous God, shit like this. There's only one God, right? And then they worship the Pope and saints and fucking there's all these other, and then fucking the Virgin Mary. And then you can trace back in history where these stories are just retold in every culture to control stupid people. Frankly, it's always been used to control the stupids. Um, which I knew innately growing up. That one had to tell me is like that you're obviously wrong. I don't have to read the book. I know that at some point I'm going to see the part where it's made up. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There is valuable information like turning the other cheek, like it's crazy that you have to teach the Ten Commandments, but when you're dealing with, I mean, thousands of years ago, you'd run into completely feral people and you had to fucking humanize them. They were animals, frankly. And I mean, we still have animals on roaming around, like animals in human form roaming around today. They're saying that people are eating, or they're cannibals. There are people eating fucking pets. There's God knows what. Um, Half the country wholeheartedly believes it. Half the country does not believe it. The thing is, they're accusing. This is an aside. They're accusing Haitians of doing this, and everybody knows it's the Vietnamese eating dogs and cats. I'm being funny, but you know what exists in Haiti is voodoo. So they are taking the animals. These are a part of voodoo rituals. I don't know if they eat them or fuck them or what, but you can ask a Haitian. They're doing it. They have always done that. So if you're getting boatloads of people who their religion is this, and they need supply, I don't imagine they're going to PetSmart. They're just getting it off the street. It's their religion. So, like, rather than just be like, that's not possible, like, hey, talk to one of them and ask. I saw a video of someone explaining. Um, and there was a video last year of a guy eating part of the leg of a guy that was on fire. I saw it twice today, and I'm just eating it like it's a fucking bucket of wings or something. Um, it's on the internet, so it could be fake. Never know. Anyways, feral people. there are feral people, and you need to give them the basics of this is how to be human. I get it, but at a certain point, it's very limiting. Like the people that think it's literal. God created the earth in 7 days, and we are it. And there's chosen people. All these things is like, shut the fuck up, please. You're holding us all back with your stupidity, your inability to grasp anything higher than yourself. And then they put all these limiting notions on God, like God is jealous, like God needs our worship and needs our money. It's like, do you think he's you? You're telling on yourself. It's like if I was God, I would want this. It's like, why would God need your fucking anything? And there was, I think Nietzsche said, we killed God. We killed the concept of God for sure. We can obviously cannot kill God. Cannot be done. Um, you can kill God within yourself. I've seen people do that. Um, so in my first, I started diligently studying. Um, the way maybe I should just tell the story as like a multiple part thing, but because I had paranormal experiences as a child, I always had this notion that there's something. I can't be completely atheist. I know that something that science isn't even working on exists. And I knew that. And like once when you see or experience something, it's like, okay, everyone else says it doesn't exist, but it's like, what do I do now? I cannot be in your camp. I can gaslight myself to get to the next day, but there's something I know that you don't. Why am I listening to you? It's like asking a blind person to draw a picture. It's like, you don't know what the fuck it looks like. Why the fuck am I listening to you? So when I was 25, I went on like a ghost hunting trip with my friends to validate or invalidate the experiences I had as a kid. And things happened there. Part of it, my friend's experience, part of it, I had a personal experience that left no doubt in my mind that, like, we stayed in New Orleans at a former slave plantation that was also Civil War hospital. And something woke me up, and then I'm just gonna skip over it. I won't tell the details, but something woke me up, and I saw it, or proof of it rather, go into a wall. Uh, and then when I Googled the hotel, there was a story of a woman being dragged by her ankle out of bed towards that same wall. I was on the other side of that same wall, same room. So, okay, like you can say, who the fuck am I? And these stories, what am I supposed to do? You shouldn't take my secondhand information. But if you had first hand information, I can't, I cannot be in the camp of there's nothing. But I didn't really know what to do with this information. I was 25. I never had a sip of alcohol, never did drugs, never nothing. And I'm also just not the type of person who exaggerates, or not the type of person to, like, honestly seek attention. At least not like that. That's not the kind of attention I want. Um, and when I got older and more established, I started to, like, well, what if that's the case? So I had a devoutly religious family near me, proximity wise. Someone that was a good friend of mine, I thought. And I thought, okay, if there's a God, he put this family in my life so that I would find him, because I wouldn't seek it otherwise. I just tried to logic my way into, okay, that could be, if God was doing things, that makes sense, right? And it was a platonic friend for 14, 15 years, and then it became I don't know if I would say inevitable, but like I guess the option for it to be romantic became more like, okay, it has never worked with anybody else and we're best friends, so do you want to do this? And it was rocky and it shouldn't have happened, and we weren't compatible in any romantic sense at all. um, I realized later on that she was keeping me in her back pocket. She would do and say things if I was dating someone to make them feel insecure, so she would, like, the girl I was dating would feel like I'm closer to this friend rather than. And they would always complain, and I always defended my friend. I was like, no, she wouldn't do that. She's an angel. It's like it was definitely happening. Um, and it would happen when I wasn't looking. That's how you know it's true. What? No, gaslight, gaslight. So after trying to force a relationship that never felt right, and if I'm being honest, just for the sake of being honest, it was like hooking up with your cousin or something, or sibling. I never felt comfortable with it. Most of the time, I was inebriated, or she would initiate, and objectively, she was a gorgeous girl, and everybody was after her, but I just couldn't. There was something missing. I don't know, and I thought that I was the problem, and I would, just think that I'm fucked up, and I would tell her, "You should move on. Don't wait for me. I don't see it," and then I'd feel guilty. Uh, I felt incredible guilt because also I know that her quality of life suffers without me. I was always financially or morally supporting this person. Um, was not a smart thing to do, but again, it's part of my love language. So I I was reeling from the relationship before that. Was a year and a half where the girl was gaslighting me and had a secret family. So I found out after a year and a half that she had 3 kids, and it turned my world upside down. And I became very bitter and angry for years after I was just trying to get out of pain. And during that time, she had transitioned in her life and was, I think she uh, needed my financial support to survive, um, and also probably comfortable. And I'm sure, like, part of it is I'm just fun. You know what I mean? Like, there is that, but there was other components that kind of soured that. Because it became obvious afterwards. It's like, oh, I've been used this whole fucking time. Damn. Um, so the thing is, I was resistant because, frankly, her family has their own church, and I knew these people for a very long time, and they never really pushed it on me. They invited me to stuff, and I was around it, but I'm not an idiot, so I never participated. I don't think they ever tried to force me or whatever, but when we started to become like an item or started to look that way, the dynamic of everything changed. The mom took me aside and said, like, if you guys aren't planning on having kids, we don't care what you do, but we won't allow you to have kids if they don't grow up in the church, or if they're not Christian, or if you're not Christian. Me specifically, like, you're not gonna allow me to have kids? Who the fuck are you? You're not gonna allow me anything? What perceived power do you have over me? It's like, okay, show me where in the book it says God gave you this power. It says that specifically women can't preach, actually. So why don't you listen to me, bitch? Get back in the kitchen. According to your rules, you suck. So things like that were like slowly I kept relenting to allow, I felt so much guilt for hurting this person that eventually it was back and forth and on and off, and we had both had third parties involved, and it got very messy. I finally was like, okay, I'm going to say yes to everything I'd normally say no to. Every objection I'd have, I'm just going to be the most agreeable person. And this is the truth, and this is, I'm sure if this guy ever heard it, it would break his heart. Um, but I also think that he could watch her fucking somebody and he wouldn't break up with her. So there is that. But there's no such thing as a secret in this world. I don't imagine any of these people will ever find this video, but this is here it goes. Um, he was away. They were in a relationship. My ex friend slash ex girl. I don't know if we ever officially dated. Ex girlfriend and this guy that she ended up marrying, and he was going away for training to for a new job. So for 6 months, he was going to be in another state. And during that 6 months, I was on my best behavior. She not only was my best friend, she went every weekend. We had plans together. We went everywhere, even with his friends. We went on vacation together. We slept in the same bed. We, uh, a couple times kissed. We did not have sex during that time, but that entire time she was assuring everybody in my life, and there's other women around me, I'm not like a ugly guy, so other women, she would make sure they knew that we were together. And she told everybody on my side, I just can't break up with this guy while he's gone. He's looking forward to coming back, and the only thing that's keeping him going is me, which I was like, I understood. And at the time I was in therapy, and my therapist fucking hated this bitch. It's like, okay, how long are you gonna not get your needs met? And I was like, well, if the guy comes back from his thing and they don't break up immediately, then I'm done. But I have to know I did everything. So during this time, dad saw his opportunity. It's time for you to join the church. So he tells me to convert. And I'm like, what does that entail? And he's like, you have to say Jesus sits on the throne of my heart. And I said, I'm not comfortable saying that because I don't know anything about the guy. I know like general stuff from pop culture, but I would be disingenuous for me to say that. He's like, well, you have your whole life to learn. I'm still learning and I'm in my 60s. So converting is the first step, he said. And then I'm like, just doesn't make sense to me. Under normal circumstances, I'd say, go fuck yourself. And how dare you? But we're having lunch at a Mexican restaurant in Dana Point. And he's like, we can do it right here. I was like, this doesn't seem like a very holy place. I don't even know the name of the restaurant. He's like, well, how about we do it in my German car? That way it has significance to you. I was like, okay, whatever. So he FaceTimes his daughter, my not girlfriend, seems to be a trend now. And she's at the gym fucking sweating, lifting like a man. And she pretended to cry. And I had to hold his hand and repeat these empty words. And then he put the top down in his car and drove down PCH singing Bruno Mars. And I thought, this is the gayest moment of my life. I don't think he could be any gayer. I just held this guy's hand, and now I'm watching his solo. He's like performing. This is that ice cold. Like, it's just you and me here. Who are you doing this for? Very performative, frankly. So I converted, not to my everlasting shame, like I was figuring things out. So, of course, I had to start learning. So they gave me books. They gave me a book called Mere Christianity. Um, by C.S. Lewis. And of course, like, there are compelling arguments, but there was a chapter on pride. When I read that chapter, I was like, have you guys read this book? Every single person in your family needs to highlight every word in this pride chapter because the way you guys act, I was like, I'm on the outside. I don't believe this shit. But if you believe it, you're making a huge fucking mistake. FYI. I wasn't closed off to it anymore. And I tried to logic my way into it. It must be this version of God because these people are here, basically. And then I was in Miami with my friends and my dad, and I was going to Mexico with my dad, Tulum. And she leaves my birthday early to go on vacation with her guy. So, like, she pretended to cry in the car. I took her to the airport. And I didn't cry. I was like, I did everything. I did everything. It wasn't enough. So, I have no more energy to give this. So, like a clean shit where you don't have to wipe. I just fucking moved on. So, it didn't take me long. Like, I had a big friend group, and I had things to do every weekend in San Diego, and I probably started drugs at the same time, Molly and mushrooms and shit like this. And then I had a huge dose of mushrooms, and I had a fucking I was just became a I got over everything. I got past everything, and I was able to live in the moment. I was super happy. It was the happiest period of my life. Was like the 6 weeks where she wasn't in it, and coincidentally at the same time I didn't talk to my mom, I didn't talk to my sisters, like basically anyone who had an opinion of how I should live and act. I was like, hey, time out. Now it's my turn to do whatever the fuck I want. And I just, I mean, flew a little too close to the sun, but I needed that experience. So I started dating someone else who's in a social club and claimed to be a witch, and a lot of weird things happened, and it's a different story. I told her about the things that happened to me as a kid, and she's like, "Well, they can't hurt you anymore because I did something." What? What'd you say? What the fuck does that mean? Um, Extremely damaged human being, if she is one. And I was attracted to that familiar damage, and also wanted to help. And I realized that she would kill me. Not as I'm not saying that facetiously. She would actually like Gone Girl me, frame me for murder or something worse. Scariest person I've ever met in my life. Easily the scariest. Like the devil is in that person. I have no doubt. Like she knows the devil on a first name basis. I found out later, but um, I think I dated that girl officially for 3 days, and she let all the crazy out. And I was like, okay, I don't care if I look stupid for making us official publicly and now ending it. So you can't just act however the fuck you want. I'm not your prisoner. Have a nice life. So broke up with that girl. And then the same day, I get a text. I have some of your stuff. And I was like, okay, drop it off at my mom's house. Do you ever think of us getting back together? No. No, I don't. It's like, stop texting me also, because if my girlfriend finds out, she'll kill both of us. She's like, oh, you moved on pretty quick. She was looking at my Instagram, and it looked like I was happier than her. And I think the pieces of the puzzle I put together later is that she needed a place to live, and I make more money than the other guy. So it would be a better quality of life. So she pretended, she feigned She really rode this connection to get her needs met. Like the stripper, every guy that walks in the door, she's gonna pretend that those guys is just for money. But you are special. You get my real name. It's not Bubbles. It's Mailer Mage. um, Sorry, that was rude. But funny. It's a tragic story, so I get to say it however the fuck I want, right? Telling the truth. From my perspective, I'm sure they have their own perspective, but all I have is, and again, I 100% needed these people, these lessons. I have no anger or resentment towards them, and in fact, I feel sorry for them. And in that, I feel like I have love for them still. I use the metaphor of a snake eating itself, but I think it's vulgar to say that too. But because what they lost in losing me in their life is a lot more than the money they were after through me. But who, like, try explaining that to them? They don't care. Um, and that was a very tough thing, is to want to like confront, like, hey, I found out that you lied to me, you're using me and all this shit. Like, you want to confront them. Of course they don't care. They give a fuck. It's like, oh shit, he found out. I guess there's fresh blood over here. Let's suck this faggot dry. Um, Fuck. So she went on vacation with the, the other guy, and then she would sneak away and FaceTime me. And I was just like, I was done. I was like, what do you want? She's like, do you not want me to call you? She like went to get her nails done and then FaceTimed me. He's like, you're with your boyfriend on vacation and it's my birthday. I'm pretty sure this, like, none of this, I didn't make any of these decisions. Well, it's your fault because when I was available, you didn't, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, if it was my fault, then I did it on accident. You seem to be doing it on purpose. And I'm done. It's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. It has nothing to do with me now. I'm done. So when she tried to come back, I already knew it was all done. It was all over and all this stuff. But this other girl that I had dated in that short time in between was being such a raging cunt that I kind of wanted to piss her off. I was like, okay, give me my stuff, the clothes that you have, or whatever the fuck. I don't know why you've been hanging out to my clothes, but let's meet at this restaurant and talk. And again, she pretended to cry. And I honestly didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything. But I did feel like, oh, this is my friend. It's my friend for my whole adult life. It's like, oh, like, familiar. Like, I want to tell you about all the stuff I've experienced. Like, I met this new friend, and I did this, I did that. You know what I mean? It's just catching up, like wanting the connection to be what it was or what I thought it was, and it was not. So, she had an agenda. It was, I need a roof over my head that someone else pays for, and she just played the game. She's recruiting for church, right? So by this time, like when we broke up, I had thought, okay, well, I was wrong about the God thing. There obviously is not a God because this wasn't it. So the logic of this God put these people in my life so I find them is not. So I went the other way. Acted as if there isn't one, which is weirdly how I found out there is one. I got a little too close to the other side. I guarantee there are people that believe in the other guy and do things for him. Um, and I think her family's part of that, weirdly. That's the feeling I got. So like when she came back into my life, it felt very forceful. It felt very fake. I'd look at her and I'd be like, "You look like my friend, but you don't act like her. Like something inside her is different." I had a new friend, Amber. She's an angel. And I looked at Amber one day. I was like, I swear to God, it feels like the devil sent her. Like she's like I don't know if she's a clone or fucking like something inside this person is not good. Amber was helping me fold my. Amber was living with me at the time. She became my roommate. She needed me, and I needed a new best friend. And Amber was doing laundry, so she's like folding clothes, and then I started folding clothes with her. And my ex, who was just using me to have a roof over her head, was like shutting the door and looking at me like, what the fuck? Why are you letting her do your laundry? I was like, first of all, why aren't you doing my laundry, bitch? What the fuck are you here for? It's like, this is my friend. She belongs here. Why are you here? Just to sleep for 5 hours before you fuck off to do your own thing? To go hang out at the gym with your ex and have a whole day with him? Um, like the evil in her eyes, she was shutting that door, something I'll never forget. Um, and she was so mean and rude to Amber because Amber stood in the way of her getting her needs met. And Amber would not hurt a fly. She's completely harmless. And this person who claims to be godly and super close to God, speaks for God, family comes from, was an absolute demon to uh, someone who doesn't deserve it, did nothing to deserve it. And obviously to me as well, turns out. But it made me question. I mean, eventually, like once I started to see what it was all the time. So she was always like when I was in college or early 20s, like we used to go to the mall and have lunch together because, and I realized like I've always been paying. She always said she wants to hang out with me because I'm the most fun, but I paid for everything. I was like, fuck, was it the whole time? I thought this was I would tell people this is my best friend. And this whole time, I could start to hear her father did something to me. We went out to dinner to Mastro's and with a couple of our friends and with her parents. And I started to do well at the time, and this is while she had a boyfriend. So I thought, this is my family. I should do something nice for my family, and I paid secretly. But because they go there all the time, also what I realized is she told me beforehand, my father's going through financial difficulties because of the pandemic. And she said that because she knew I would pay. Also manipulating me, right? So I didn't have a problem with it. I was like, sure, this is my family. Why wouldn't I pay? That's what my dumbass thought. So I secretly give like it was a genius way. I'm not going to give my secret away. And the manager comes over because they're on the VIP list. Financial difficulties, but VIP, we're there every Friday, same table. Oh, I'm giving too many details. I edit that out. Um, so manager comes, talks to him. We're sitting like 20 inches away from each other. It's a small table. He stands up. I couldn't see. The manager had a mask and he was pulling the mask away, but I could see they're talking about me. He points at me. He's like, this guy right here, this kid's fucking rich. Let him pay. That's okay. Let him pay. He's fucking loaded. He said that to my face. He made eye contact with me when he said it. He saw me looking at him and he said it. And my friend was trying to talk to me, and I was like, I have no, like whatever the fuck he was saying, I was like, shut the fuck up. I need to hear every word. I need to make sure I heard this right. And I'm thinking like, I couldn't have heard that. I've known these people for over a decade and a half. These people are my family. This is like I was gonna call this guy dad. Like my father would kill someone so he can pay. That's our culture. And this guy, I'm doing something nice for him and his family. And I financially supported his daughter when he couldn't. I gave her a credit card to make sure she didn't get stuck anywhere. I paid her a daily stipend just so she had money. She did nothing to earn it. Just be friends with the right person. And then after all that, this guy says that, and I couldn't believe it. Then the waitress comes by and apologizes. I'm sorry he gave me his credit card first. It's okay. This kid's fucking rich. Don't worry about it. He's really rich. Don't worry about it. And then I go home and I'm fucking like I had to hold the anger in. And of course, when the bill comes, oh, thank you so much. We're so surprised we didn't. I was like, is this how like God taught you to act? Like, isn't this lying? So I tell my ex, I'm like, I heard your dad say this. And she's like, no, he meant like, oh, this is your time to shine. Like, you got this. I'll let you have this one. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to forget that he's a cheap ass. I'm supposed to fucking. I heard the words he said. It wasn't. It was nothing like that. And of course, he made eye contact with me, and I realized he did it on purpose later, because he felt emasculated that I make more money than him. He felt emasculated that I'm hooking up with his daughter. I assume, like there must be some kind of feeling. Like this one time I was at their house and he body checked me into the wall, and then he's, oh, I'm so sorry, haha. He walked by me one time and said like, oh, when you have big dicks like me and Ped, like there's all these weird. Then the picture started to come together after a while. I'm like, what the fuck's happening here? And I realized I was like, oh, you know what? I tried to have a heart to heart with this man. I told him how good my life was going, and that I was having, emotions about his daughter and not working out, and blaming myself. And what he took out of it is like, this kid has a lot of money. That's the only thing he got out of it. So I'm like thinking I'm talking to like, imagine like a conversation with my own father. So he'd like give me fatherly advice or talk to his cunt daughter. She's not a cunt, she is, but I'm just being fun. Um, I'm just being real, frankly. She was a cunt to me, and she was a cunt to people that I love. And does it mean she's a cunt now? Sometimes I'm a cunt too, though. But the level of betrayal I felt from the father, from the ex, from the like after having so many betrayals in my life, like best friend slash business partner, the girl that had the secret family, like it really hit me hard. Like this was what started. This is what made me conscious. This is what made me find God, frankly. So these people were trying to lead me to God. They thought they were leading me away from God, frankly. But that's what made me actually find God. So again, like I wouldn't take this experience back, and I don't want anyone to judge these people. I don't want like there's no use. There's no use in that. They played exactly the role that I needed them to play for me to get where I need to go in life. So it's all simulation, and I invented these people, and they don't actually exist, and everybody's me pushed out. So don't think any type of way. I'm deliberately describing it in a way so it's funny, because it's fucking tragic. It's fucking tragic. What I went through was fucking horrific. Um, when you give so much of yourself freely, you attract the worst human beings. I don't, and I use the term human being loosely. The worst things. Um, they didn't see my values in my heart, not in how much money I have in the bank. And part of like this betrayal and all this stuff, it made me really resent money and success, and it it put me on the right track, frankly. So again, like this was meant to happen in this way, and frankly, my life looks a lot better than any of these people. Like any of these people that fucked me over for a short-term gain. On my worst day, I wouldn't trade places. I promise. Um, fuck. So, um, these people claim to talk to and for God. I listened to the sermons on Sunday. I tried to learn, and the thing is, I realized I hesitate to say this part because I'm affecting someone's ability to make money, but I also I believe wholeheartedly people that collect money on behalf of God are evil. I don't give a fuck what you're doing with it. If any of it goes into your pocket, if you buy clothes with it or anything, I think inherently you're trying to make it look as much as you can like you're not doing it for money, but it is. Anyone who's doing something for God, you should have a full-time job elsewhere, or I don't trust shit that you're saying. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. And based on my interactions with people who do make money on it, there's a good reason. So what I realized, and here's the thing, is like I get it. I've been to churches, right? So I wanted to tell this story. So after I had interactions with his family, I looked at other churches and how are these people doing it? What do these people believe? So I went to a big church here, and they say it's Newport, but it looks like Irvine to me, Free Chapel. It's a massive church. There's a fucking big blue cross burning outside, right on Jamboree Road. Go visit it. And Sunday, there's people in the parking lot smiling. Hey, are you new here? Park in our preferred parking, so we can sell you. Um, I went, and I had the experience of the small church that this family ran, which is it's run out of their living room and just streamed to Facebook to the people who are also in the room on Facebook. Um, I realized, like I had to do book reports today when I didn't read the book, and I know how to just stretch some shit out, like when I had to do book reports and I had to be a certain length. You know what I mean? So I understand doing a book report your whole life is fucking boring, and every week you have to somehow make it interesting and funny and relatable, and that's a full time job. Even though you work one day a week, it's probably exhausting. It's probably exhausting. Like I think I wanted to be a comedian. If I didn't do this, I would want to be a stand up comic. I feel like I could do it, but what I can't do is have Groundhog's Day. I can't say the same joke the same day, the same way, even two shows back to back. Fucking even if they're a week apart, I can't live like that. It's a weird hang up to have. I like the comedians that think on their feet, that do like Russell Peters or Max Amini, that can say something and make it new, um, on the spot. Just funny people. Um, and then on the flip side, like Louis C.K., I've seen him at the beginning of the year formulating his set, and it's rough, and then he, based on performing for so many people, he makes it every word, every pause is perfect, and it's like fucking. absolutely genius. It's like a masterpiece. It's like master composer. So I can also see the work that takes, and also the knowledge of the craft, right? So when someone phones it in, everybody knows. So I would watch my ex's father do his. He's like, "Oh, watch on Sunday. Watch on Sunday." I was like, "Okay, I'll watch." So I watched, and then I took notes, and then when we met, he's like, "Did you watch?" I'm like, "Yeah." So what'd you think? I was, "Yeah, it was good." It's like a three-part, 5 parts on love. Okay, I saw 1 and 2. So I in our conversation that day, I brought up things that he said, and he looked at me. He was like, "What?" I was like, "He doesn't know the subject. He didn't even know it was his words. It was like he was hearing it for the first time." I was like, "He's just there must be like preacher.com, and you just download a PowerPoint, and then he just speaks over it." And I noticed that during he probably has a 6th grade education, so he didn't. No one taught him how to read good. I don't know why I said it like that, but I would hear him mess up words, and I was like, "Why is he using words that he doesn't know how to say?" And then I realized, oh, these aren't his words. He's just repeating someone else's thing. So he's just standing up there, just making someone else's PowerPoint funny and doing his best Chris Rock impersonation. So it was like, I was like, outraged. He's a fraud. Fucking what the fuck? What am I paying you for? You want 10%. The reason I'm outraged is when I when it was clear that it was ending between me and his daughter, he asked to meet with me. And I asked his daughter, I'm like, "What is this about?" He's like, she says, "Well, maybe it's about me crying myself to sleep every night." She was not crying herself to sleep. Narcissist. Um, Playing on my guilt. So I meet it with him, and he says, "If I don't," I was like, "I'm going through something spiritual. I'm having sleep paralysis nightmares. I can feel something watching me at night. I see when I open my eyes in the morning after a nightmare, I can see a shadow leave the room every night. Like my bed's shaking. Like it's fucking. I'm having a fucking poltergeist. I need." And you talk to God, right? Can you fucking pray over my apartment? He's like, "Yeah, I can pray over it, but if you um, if you don't give me 10% of your money, my yeah, if you don't give me 10% of your money, you're gonna burn in hell forever." So a man that I thought at one point was gonna be my father, and that I looked up to, and that I loved, took my moment of weakness as an opportunity to kick me while I'm down. And his daughter set him up for that. And I can see clearly now all the conversations that happened when I wasn't in the room. So, hey, you are driving your mom crazy. We don't have space for you at home. You need to move out. Go see if pet is still an option. We'll keep this guy in church. We already have him. See if you can get it. Pet on board. We need the money. It was just about money. So it's an interesting thing. Psychologically, I understand that I was going through something so profound and had given so much of my power away that I could have invented this invisible force that's attacking me. How am I supposed to know what the difference is? It's real to me, but something was haunting me. So I remember I brought her to Dubai with me. I was going to bring Amber because she deserved it. She was my friend. And I was like, "I'm sorry, Amber, I just have to see if I have to figure this out with her." And Amber's like, "Okay, well, I can drop you guys off at the airport." Amber, poor dumb bitch, is so sweet and innocent. And my ex, like, "You don't belong here. You need to go home." Like, fucking mean girled her, made her cry. Just she came to give us a ride there. You don't belong here. Fucking just. And I should have just unpacked her bag and said, "You need to walk home. Amber, get in the fucking car. Let's go." I should have fucking. I gave all my power away, right? And just like I wanted to be done. I was tired. I don't. I. It fucked me. Have I gone through hell since then too? But I was like thinking, okay, maybe their father's a bad influence, and we used to be best friends, and we can get back there and all this stuff. And then on that trip, she was trying to get me to buy her jewelry. And I was like, I don't even know if I like you as a friend. I don't know if we're ever going to talk again. Why the fuck am I buying you jewelry? And then on that trip, while we were together, the other guy was having Thanksgiving with her family and they had planned Christmas together. So she literally came with me on this trip, broke up with him, came on this trip just to get a trip to Dubai and to try to get more jewelry out of me. Because all the nice things that she owns, I bet you to this day, are things I bought. It's like, okay, you can wear it and tell people just so you know this is what I'm worth. But we know the truth. Um, Interestingly, that family got robbed. Like, at one point, they were very wealthy and they collected a lot of jewelry and shit stuff. And someone cased their house, I suppose, and took all their stuff. Or they pawned it, I don't know. Just claimed insurance. And then every day since then, they've been trying to amass more shit. And obviously, they've become fucking assholes to try to do it. So it was an interesting spiritual lesson there as well. Because I watched it, like I watched it from the outside, like this could have been a thing, like okay, we have our family, we have this, and let's refocus, and then you probably would get the same things or better. But their focus was like, I think I know why. Like from my perspective, like the dad, like a lot of people with a father wound are always trying to prove their worth in the world. Wearing like, look, Dad, I made it. I have a Porsche. I have a Rolex. I mean, you can't say I'm worthless. You can't say I didn't do it. See. Everything's external. Which, like, thank God I can see that because that made me go the other way. Because I have the same base material as the father, a lot smarter and better looking. But the reason he triggered me so much is he's my shadow. Everything I pretend I'm not, he's walking around living as everything I hate in myself, being disingenuous and see through, and like I could do exactly his job better. Like in another world, I could see me doing my best stand-up routine every Sunday to be relatable, and I'm the cool I'm the cool pastor. I say fuck, and me and wife do anal or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Anyways, I on my journey, like learning about projection and like thank God for Carl Jung. But what triggered my reaction is seeing myself in him. And again, this is why don't I I don't want anyone to look down on these people or have negative. This is my experience with myself. I'm sure they're angels to other people and they're doing good in the world somehow, just not with me, not in any way I've seen. Um, so took her to Dubai. She's shopping for jewelry, like taking me to the section she wants me. And I'm like, no. It's like we're like I was sleeping next to her, and the sleep paralysis nightmare came. the sleep paralysis demon that was haunting me in my fucking apartment came. And I had this dream and I was calling for help. And it would mock me. Oh, help, help. Like it was like doing that in a demonic voice. And I was reaching out for her. She's sleeping next to me and I'm reaching out for fucking help. Help, help, help. And then finally, like, I couldn't move. You know, that's what sleep paralysis. Finally, I like wake up. And she's obviously in her own world. And then she mentioned to me, like, oh, I had a feeling like you were having a nightmare. And I just prayed to Jesus that it would go away. And I was like, you fucking knew? Bitch, is it you? Did you put this fucking thing on me? Like, what the fuck? How the fuck would you know what I'm. And also, like, you couldn't just fucking hold my hand? Fighting for my life here. I feel like R. Kelly. Fighting for my life. Um, so obviously, no comfort from this bitch. I've never felt more alone in my life than sleeping in bed with her. Um, that trip sucked balls. It was the fucking worst vacation I've ever had. She's meeting like my dad's side of the family that I've never met. She shows up everywhere dressed like a whore. So everyone's like, oh, like they're wearing fucking hijabs. And they're looking at her like everything's showing. Like, she's very pretty. Like, I looked like I brought a fucking hooker to. God damn it. The last night in Dubai, I'm talking to my cousin. She's saying goodbye basically, but she's saying, like, you know, I had pictures of you. We had pictures of you and your siblings and your aunt, and I was like, we did? I don't know who the fuck you are. I didn't even, first time hearing your name. She's like, I'm glad you know the culture and the language. And I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I don't know it better. And I'm like, I know Americans could come off very rude. And then homegirl interrupts me. She's like, or actually, we just say what we want and we don't beat around the bush. And I was like, okay. And she's like, what? I'm right. And I had the thought, like, okay, I could take this person and show her right from wrong and like take the good that she has and kind of re-promote it, because I remember a version of this person when she was my best friend. She didn't curse. Eventually, maybe in college, she would say F. She would get to the first letter. And then it like just slowly went down. You know, there's a choice and a choice and a choice. And then it was all people would reward the wrong thing. And she became something completely different than what I admired, frankly. And I thought, like, all right, if I become the influence, like a father figure, and fucking, but how am I supposed to teach someone how to be a good human being? Like, she couldn't see. Like, you're exactly proving my point. Like, no one was talking to you. I'm having a heart to heart with my cousin, and you stick your fucking dick into the conversation and ruin it. You ruin the fucking moment, proving my point. It's like, you're so deaf. You're so fucking deaf. So by this time, I was like disgusted with her. I was like, get the fuck out of my life. It's like, when we land, I'll never want to see you again. And then, of course, she moves on right away because her life was already planned with the other guy. And I think I did mushrooms just to do them, just to, like, I want to get back to when I was happy, like I was in the summer. And then it dawned on me everything. So I was being used. And this led to psychosis, frankly. I was so angry. I was so betrayed. I was so confused. I was probably the most dangerous I have ever been as a human being. Um, unpredictable, unpredictable. And I don't have, weirdly, I was getting high a lot at the time to numb myself. I don't have many memories, like a couple of years blurred together. And it was a couple of fucking hard, emotional, shitty years. Scary fucking years. And this is the last one I talked about random people showing up in my life and shit. That all that stuff happened at my weakest. Like I was like, I'm fucking clearly my soul's up for grabs right now and everybody wants it. It's like her family wanted my fucking soul. That's what it felt like. It was like they weren't after just my money. It's like, oh, we get his soul. Like, did these people sign an agreement with the devil to sacrifice my ass? That's what it felt like. That is today, with everything I know, that is the feeling I have that that's what happened. That those people would have got some financial reward for trading my ass in. Sacrifice this idiot, and we'll get fucking paid or become famous or get a TV show or some shit. I don't know how the fuck it works, but that is that is my honest to God conclusion. I can't. It took me so long to wrestle with like how this happened, why this happened, and how I didn't see it. And I was like, was there a spell on me? Was there a fucking like, how is this possible that I could be so blind to reality? And of course, when you're in a relationship, someone moves on right away. Usually, the person that moves on right away is the one who's worse off. It's harder to be like, this is just a general rule, but it's harder to be fucking single celibate and go through it the hard way, not use someone as a crutch. And the poor guy she married was happy to be used by everybody. Like he doesn't. He's like every USB port on this fucking kid is taken, and he's happy to do it. God bless him. Like I could not switch places with him. Um, I wish him the best. He's in a fucking den of vipers, and I my honest to God feeling is that he's a good person. Um, and he doesn't know that they were having conversations with me that they were pushing him to the side for me, and they were having the same conversation with him, saying they were pushing me to the side for him. I don't know if he will ever figure that out, frankly. Um, I don't believe that there's any possibility you get away with lies in this universe. I think somehow things always come out, but my feeling is that even I think he wanted this so badly that nothing he hears would change that. And that's I guess what it takes. I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to sell my soul, or frankly, like, so when she initially came back and I didn't want to have anything to do with her, I had a trip to Vegas planned. I bought like front row seats to see John Mulaney and all this shit. I don't even remember the show, but I did a bunch of mushrooms with my ex. And then when you're fucking on mushrooms, you love everybody. And I was just like, all right, let's figure it out. And as I sobered up, I was like, but her father, what am I gonna do about him? Because like I could try and raise this person to be a good person or to, you know what I mean? Think. Because anytime I asked her, like, hey, how does this work? And what is the Trinity? Or you should ask my dad. I'm like, okay, when you get to heaven, you can't fucking call, this isn't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We can't call your dad. What do you believe? I'm asking you, not what it says in the book. What do you fucking believe? You go to church every Sunday your whole life. You should be able to teach a college level course of this shit, bitch. What are you doing? Scrolling Instagram while he's talking? Like, it's not just fucking singing songs. There's fucking, it's real, right? There must be, like, you fucking should know. So, fuck. It's just it's so insane to me. it felt like I woke up from the Matrix and that they were trying to get me to fall back asleep. Um, my thought was that when I sobered up from the mushrooms, I was thinking about what about your father? Because what am I going to do about this guy? Because he's got a huge ego and a huge problem with pride, and he wants, like, I'm thinking my kids are going to be growing up. They have my influence and my father's influence and my mother's influence in my family, and then they obviously have her family is very, very close, which is not, normally that's a good thing. But I heard her nephew tell her mom, her sister, I can't wait to die so I can meet Jesus. And my parents would have smacked me and say, "You want to meet him right now? Shut the fuck up." Now, they like all fell to their knees and cried. And I was like, this kid's a bitch. He's clearly autistic. Game recognizes game. Make him eat food. We go to In-N-Out and he just eats the bread. Um, I hate that they slow down. They pander to him because autism doesn't exist in Persian families. They beat it out of you. It's like, we are not slowing down. We're eating this today, or you're not eating. Which fucking thank God they did. I would be so much weirder if they slowed down to the child's speed. You know what I mean? Like, this is how it goes. Shut the fuck up. We tell you what to do. We know better. We should know better. Um, anyways, my thought was that, my dad came to a foreign country, he didn't speak the language. His country was fucking on fire. He had to bust tables. He had to do odd jobs. He had to work his way up. And now, American dream, speaks the language, like employs 100 plus people. He did it. He did it. And then this other guy is gonna take the kids aside, my kids, and be like, God chose me. I speak for God. I'm God's chosen person. He didn't have to work for it. He didn't have to he doesn't do his homework still. Not intelligent, not a good person. But in comparison, I have a lot of criticism of my own father. Not a perfect man. But there's a few times that I was physically defending my father from a perceived threat, and I would have died or killed another person to defend him because I know that he's an honorable man. I know that he didn't do it. He didn't. He did everything to avoid. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be able to say that about my father-in-law. And there was a time in my life where I was so distraught that I didn't get this prize, which was like fucking, it would have been hell on earth for me, literally. I don't, would have been selling my soul. It's, it's what it felt like because that's what it is. And when I was faced with selling my soul, obviously, like, there's no fucking chance I'm selling my soul. There's no fucking chance. There's like, she ain't that hot. But selling my kid's soul, they're not here. They don't exist. Hypothetically, I would fucking kill you first. There's no fucking way. Or I would let them be brainwashed by these fucking very damaged people. Have no idea how damaged they are. You know, just like very, very unconscious. And their level of unconsciousness led to my consciousness. So again, like, this is as honest and upfront I can be about a very real thing that I experienced that caused my dark night of the soul. That's what it was. I had a normal life. I didn't have like I was talking about conspiracies and secret clubs and fucking any of that shit. Like, that's, this was it. All that other shit came at the same time, weirdly, but this was the catalyst to me opening my eyes, all three. So, as an epilogue, like, for a long time, I felt like I hated these people and I was thinking about them all the time and I was sending them my energy and it seemed like they were thriving. It seemed like everything went, they were hitting every green light, things going really well. And I was sitting here with like, I wanted to fucking, I wanted to fuck up the dad. I wanted to fucking, I wanted to blast his name on everything. Like, this guy's a fucking fraud. I could have, I could have ruined their lives. Everybody's, hers, his, fucking everybody connected to them. I know everything. I was close to the family. I know all their secrets, even what they keep from each other. That was another thing. Is like, so weird to gaslight your own family. Um, they they have a church as a business. It has nothing to do with God. If there was no money in it, they'd be doing something else. And they try to do everything else. That's how I know. It's like every pyramid scheme that comes along is like, it's a lateral move. Let's sell fucking makeup or shampoo or whatever the fuck. It's like, it's the same shit. They're just snake oil salesmen. Um, that's it's the truth. There's no room for subjective argument here. I know for sure. You know what I mean? Like you can look in someone's eyes and know what they believe and what they say, but they wouldn't live the way they live if they believed a fucking word of that book. It took me a long time to see that. They wouldn't have done this shit to me. They wouldn't have, every decision they make confirms. You know what I mean? If they believe in anything and they worship anything, it is the other guy. So I had a couple years where I couldn't work. I didn't have motivation. I hated money. I hated what it does to people. I hated that what it did to my life. I didn't want to work. I didn't have, like, what's the point of working? Do you know there's a God and there's a devil? The devil can take over every asshole in your life and start turning them into demons. So what the fuck? What's the point of this? Why am I here? Why am I spinning my wheels? It's a very, very hard, long walk back. At some point, I started to learn about Jung, but it was like I got over and past every hard part before I found out that this is what was supposed to happen in my life, that this is a normal thing to go through. Didn't feel fucking normal, I'll tell you that. But after, yeah, it took a couple years to start getting back on track, to learn how to forgive, to turn the other cheek. I wrote the father a check for $10,000 to their church. In the memo, I said for God, because I felt like I needed to forgive them, and the lesson that I was getting from the whole ordeal was to turn the other cheek. So while I was holding on to this anger and resentment and they were thriving, I was suffering. All the money I had made a fortune and I lost it. And I made God a promise. I was like, make a move in my life that I know it's you, and I'll write the biggest check they've ever received. And I think the banks were closing up because of the disease, and something happened with like a real estate deal that just barely went through. It's like the last loan. It's like literally a God thing. It's like something I've been working on for a long time, and it just never materialized. It was like, okay, it's your chance, show me. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll write the check. So these people haven't heard from me. These people know that I know, and they also felt my wrath and psychosis. I probably wrote fucking a dozen emails to these people explaining why they're. This is why fuck you. I noticed on this day, fuck you and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you. And there's no way anybody read any of that shit. But I was so angry. I was so angry and I was so defeated. So the phoenix rises from the ashes. That means everything burns down. So everything burned down. And then when I started to rebuild, I was like, who am I? Who do I want to be? If I resent these people, I'm drinking poison. I could feel it. I'd be driving down the road. Someone cuts me off and I get so fucking angry. And then I realized what I was thinking about was these people. I was thinking about the things they said to me and did to me. And it was killing me. Long after the thing. It's like it's not the snake bite that kills you. It's the venom coursing through your veins. So I'm fucking constantly getting this venom in my body. Like a year after, I was sitting on this couch, and I was like, I when I broke up with her initially, I didn't feel anything. Like, why am I not over it? God, tell me. Like, I asked for proof of God once, and I got the answers. So why don't I just ask God? Sitting here, I'm like, God, what was the lesson? What am I missing? And it popped into my head that I need to turn the other cheek, that I need to apologize, or not apologize, but I need to forgive. So I was like, okay, if the lesson's forgiveness, I forgive. If the lesson's turn the other cheek, like I'll write them a check. And then made this promise, like if this goes this way, then I'll know it's you, and then I'll be forced to forgive because I would think I'd go through these mental gymnastics. I'd think to myself and talk to myself, and then be like, okay, I have to forgive. All right. Then someone would be like, oh, I saw them here, or I saw that dad said this, and I'm like, this motherfucker, you know what he's doing, and blah blah blah. He's fucking fraud, and I couldn't not talk shit. I couldn't not. You know what I mean? There's people in my life also that would like. I found out like they they bring things up seemingly on accident, but it's on purpose. Just so you know, we said congratulations to your ex on her engagement. It's like I wouldn't know that she got engaged unless you told me. Why are you telling me this? Mm. I had a friend who would always tell me like what I saw her in Laguna Beach with a guy. She was driving his car. Or I saw your ex holding hands with this guy on Instagram. I know you don't like that. I was like, why are you telling me this? These are the people that I realized when I talked to them last thing about seeing like their true colors. Again, I don't know if we're the same species even, but I see the proof of it without seeing it. And then when you see it, you can't unsee it. So people have this whatever it is, spiritual disease or narcissism or fucking some kind of demon inside of them, whatever the fuck it is, because that family has the whole family has it, the whole family top to bottom, and you could see when I went to Mastro's with them, could see entering a room and scanning for energy. How can I get attention? How can I make this about me? Oh, there's a piano player right here. Let me get in on this. Let me start singing next to the pianist or whatever. Like, are you this starving for energy? I was just always like looking at anytime someone does something, I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? People tell themselves. It's very obvious why they're doing it. Because they feel incomplete. How do you not feel sorry for someone who's like that? Look at how they treated me. I feel sorry for them. What pieces of shit for doing that to someone who could forgive them. And of course, like at a certain point, you have to realize if I had their experiences, I'd be them. I wouldn't know better just because I think I know better. I would be them. I would be unconscious. I would be, you know, I there's plenty of my life, and still, my ex taught me a lot that I was not seeing about my. I still projecting, and there's a lot of. It's a lifelong process, and you have to allow people the chance to make their mistakes and learn in their own time and whatever. I can't condemn people. Condemnation oppresses; it doesn't liberate. So these are the lessons I got. These are like, it made me a better, more resilient person. Um, the last, I guess, since COVID, it's like from 2020 till now, I'm a completely different person. My life looks completely different. The people in my life look completely different. My trajectory is different. I'm fucking far more wise than my years. And the other thing is, I don't wear my experiences. Like the things that I've been through, you can't tell now. And thank God for that. Thank God for the fucking plasticity. Thank God, like you don't. I don't know a single person on this planet who's like. I know people have had betrayal and that stuff. Like, I'm sure we can meet on that. But the supernatural shit that was happening concurrently that I didn't bring up, not just not just the sleep paralysis demon, but it's a whole other story. It's a whole other story. My life is like Constantine. I've never seen the movie, but I know what it's about, and I don't want to watch it. But that is it. So imagine how much worse these things were. It's fucking. It's only exists in fiction to everybody else. But I imagine I've lived it and experienced it for a reason. And the fact that I'm still here, nothing short of a miracle. Like there obviously is a God. I've obviously been protected. I was obviously allowed to go through hell so that I could find heaven. Um, Everything worked out. Uh, from what I understand, my ex got pregnant and then got married. And of course, I was not Christian enough or religious enough or godly enough to be in that family. So there's that. I have no idea what she looks like. I have no idea what they are up to. I don't. I mean, I suppose we have mutual friends or contacts, but once I got over it, I remember this is just maybe this will help somebody when they're moving on. In my friend group chat, someone sent the picture of her engagement posts. And of course, initially my heart drops. Like this is what we were afraid of. What would this feel like? Because you, it's fear based on how much it would hurt. So initially it was like my heart dropped, and then I read the caption, and the caption was like, the decision was easy. And then when I read that, I was like, she used to make posts for my birthday and put like 20 pictures, or 10, I think, 10 pictures, and then talk about how much our friendship meant to her and all this shit. I was like, this she's an English major and all this shit. That's all she could say. The decision was easy. And I told my friends, I was like, I bet you she's pregnant. And that was the case. So I don't know, like it doesn't give me joy that I'm sure everything works out, and I'm sure they're happy and all that stuff. I don't wish them misery just because of what they did to me. But um, I learned so much from that experience, and it's made me such a, I'm in this world, you know, where I work, these guys are always like, Matt's so handsome. Why are you so fucking good looking? Shit like this. Or Matt's so buff, and you mean like, and I'm chivalrous, I'm a gentleman, I moral, ethical. On paper, I'm fucking pretty good. So everyone's like, why are you not taking? Why blah blah blah. I went through all this shit for a reason, and I can't just settle down to settle down. So I know too much. I know too much about how the world works and destiny and fucking shit like this, and I have to see it through. It has to be the right thing. I can't just put anyone in this place because if I've had this special mission on Earth, had this special fucking hero's journey, then everything should look special. So bet your ass if you ever see me put a ring on someone's finger, that's who I did it all for. That's who I survived it all for. And if I don't, which you know, I have a long way to go still before I expire. But if I don't, fucking don't freak out. Because to me, it is more important to be happy than to move to the next phase of life. And I know that the next phase comes when in divine timing and when I become who I'm supposed to become. I take my responsibility seriously, so especially like my friends and family and people who tell me you'd be a great father, why aren't you a father yet? It's like, well, because I take that responsibility seriously. If I couldn't for some reason have biological kids, I would raise adopted kids. I'd love to raise a mixed family of adopted and biological kids. I also feel like I suppose I am ready, but I also feel like I'm not, in the sense that it would have happened already if I was. And I just wonder, nobody that I've ever met has gone through this process before having kids. Alchemized their shit before having kids. This guy I look up to, Robert Edward Grant, speaks like 5 languages, and he is the trick is learn the verbs first, and people understand what cat is. You know what I mean? The nouns you can just say whatever the fuck you want. So, I predicted if I tuned that fucking guy's car, and he had my fucking cell phone. It's past midnight, and he's texting me. It's exactly what I fucking predicted. So, like, wait till morning, you fuck. I'm not responding. I'm not even gonna look at it. See, I'm not ready to be a father. There's still this. My kids can't see that. My mom was telling me, you gotta stop. You need to act like a royalty, son. We come from royalty. Fuck you, mom. I'm not done with this phase. I'm not gonna rush it. This is how I express myself. This is how it feels natural to me. This is my authentic self. If I had to pretend to be somebody else, who's going to live my life? So when I get to the point where I'm beyond talking like this and blah, 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 then I will be that person. For now, fuck you. And fuck everybody that looks like you. Alright, so that's that story. I can't tell you how many times I started journaling about it and delete it. And this is an especially long video, but I did the story justice. Now, if for some reason. Like I can't imagine these people would ever see this video, or that fucking even anybody in my friend group while I'm alive would ever fucking find it. Um, you know, my initial anger and reaction to them was feeling stupid for trusting and for loving. It took a long time to become myself again, a loving, trusting, giving person. But they say don't let the devil change you, because then he's your master. So I'm sure there are people that I know that know them, and I do know that, but um, I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of people that were wearing masks in my life, and it's an ever present reality. You're always going to have that, but you don't fight demons by hating them. The only way to defeat a demon is with love. They want you to hate them. You know, I noticed when I hated, like, for example, the father, I went for a drive Christmas Day, and then he was the car next to me. When I was like fuming, it's like, what are the odds of that? That's when I started to realize this energy vampire thing is real. I was like, oh, I'm leaking energy, and this fuck just has to be in my presence to collect. Then probably my life is getting bad, having bad luck, and he's probably raking it in. Now, if you were an energy vampire, what would you do? What would your life be? You'd be in entertainment where people worship you. Church makes sense, right? Metaphor, literal, you see the connection. You need energy from other people. Interesting. Why do you need energy from other people? Is there a void? Are you feeding something spiritually inside you? Just questions. But when there's a pattern, I fucking pay attention. And then I tell you. So, churches are full of demons. Full. Why do you think there's church? Get everybody fucked up in the community, bring them in one place, have them gossip. The culture in fucking American churches is fucking sick. I started talking about, initially I just want to talk about Free Chapel, my experience there. Like sitting there and just seeing, like, what are you guys, coming from the outside, just walking into a place like that, it's like, who fucking, 3 vocalists, there's a fucking hour-long rock concert, and then everybody knows the pastor's wife's cheating on him and addicted to drugs and all this shit. So there's just this concept, like, you don't have anything figured out if your life looks like that. Well, who are you to tell me what's going on in that book? So you should study it a little bit more. And it's not a condemnation. Obviously, bad things happen to everybody. But it was so weird. Everybody knew this fucking guy is going through this horrific thing, and I don't know why it's public knowledge, but seeing him phone in his book report, he must have been hungover the night before, and then just one sentence in the Old Testament, he milked for 30 minutes and then said something about In-N-Out, standing ovation, give us money. Meanwhile, I'm having like fucking fighting with demons awake and asleep, and thinking I need to. There's like, do you know there's actual evil in the world? Why the fuck are we talking about this? Why are we talking about In-N-Out? Teach people. Teach people what the fuck's going on here. It's real. You don't have a soul? Why are you fucking around? So, yeah, I mean, this idea of a Jesus that's like a fucking, this McDonald's Mickey Mouse Jesus that they feed you If he was a real person, he'd be fucking horrified. If that guy ever was a real person and walked around on this earth today, he'd be horrified what you do with his name. Even you changed his name. In Greek, Jesus means Hail Zeus. You're literally shitting on the guy when you're trying to pray to him. Read more than one book, and be careful what you read, but also just fucking use your brain. Honestly, don't be so fucking lazy you don't use it. Alright, time to go to sleep. Let's see what these fucking needy customers want from me, and maybe I'll do more true stories with Pedro fucking later, but do with that what you will. If for some reason the people that I talked about in here ever see this, I forgive you. I forgive you, and I love you, and if you wanted to sue me, it would make sense. It would be on brand. But I don't give a fuck. I know how the world works, so I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to tell the truth. I'm not going to try to sabotage anybody or anything, but also it's my responsibility to tell the truth. So that is the truth as I know it. I'm not proud to say that frequently in my life, when I perceive someone does something wrong to me, I've become a demon myself. I know that. But I recognize it and I try to change, at least. Doing my best. And I suppose that's why these things happen. Silver lining. I'm getting a cramp in my quad, so I'm going to go now. Love you and good night.